Ois Dalet. Yuvon Zeh Bahagdi Masher We'll understand this by introducing the posik that it says, Yoiducha Hashem Kol Ma'asecha V'chasidecha Yivorchucha, in the Ashri that we say in Perikuf Memhei. So we say, Yoiducha Hashem Kol Ma'asecha, all of Hashem's creations, actions that Hashem brought about will praise and admit to Hashem. The idea, as the Rebbe will explain, of Haidah, to admit to Hashem, is a very high level which is not graspable through understanding, through the intellect, but you have Yaiducha, you admit, you agree, because it's a level which is higher than comprehension. And the only way to speak of it is agreeing to it, admitting. That's Yeducha Mesecha. And then it says, V'chasidecha, and your Chasidim, Yivorchucha, will bless you, will bring down, that the level of Chasidim will bring down even the level of Yeducha. Yivorchucha, they will bring it down. The Rebbe is going to explain that there is a level of bracha, you bless someone, and there is a level of tefillah, that you pray for someone. And the Rebbe explains that a bracha is basically the person who blesses isn't requesting, but has the power to bless, because he is in a very high level that he can command the bracha, the yivorchucha. On the other hand, when you have a prayer, you're asking, and the Rebbe will explain there's an advantage in each one, but the way the Rebbe will touch the posik, Yoiducha Hashem Kol Masecha, that in the level in where there is Yoiducha, that you have to admit to Hashem, in that level which is higher than Hishtalshul, because it's not a graspable, it's not in Hishtalshulus, and it's therefore only through Haidah, but the level of Chasidecha, they can Yivorchucha. Let's see inside. The Rebbe is going to explain. The Rebbe Rashab Nishmos Eid in the Mamer Dir Maskil B'Sholem Shebehem Shachtera, which is Behem Shachayim Beis, who V'Bedivra Maskil Podu B'Sholem Shneim Rav Yutas Kislev. The Rebbe brought it down in the Mamer Podu B'Sholem that he said on Yutas Kislev of that year, in Toshin Chavov. So the Rebbe Rashab explains, the Zesha Chasidecha Yivorchucha, hu b'smichus u'behemshech liyeducha Hashem kol ma'asecha. The fact that the pasuk brings down that your Chasidim will bless you, draw you down, bring you down, is written in the pasuk in the Tehillim next to smichus, close to, and as a follow-up liyeducha Hashem kol ma'asecha. First it says, Hashem, all your actions will praise you. And then he says, so the reason for that is, because that hamshocha, bracha, to bless you, means to bring you down. The blessing to draw you down, to bring down, which comes, chasidecha, yivorchucha, is a very high place. It's the place where Yeducha Hashem Kol Ma'asecha, from the level of Yeducha Sidecha Yivorchucha, which is basically Ein Sof Shelamayla Mehishtalshulus. It's the level of the infinite light of the Ein Sof, which is higher than evolution. Shein shaykh b'hasoga Elohido bilvad yeducha. It doesn't apply their understanding. You can only talk about the level of Ein Sof. You can say, you admit that it's there because it's not comprehensible. It's not something you can take. Yoiducha, you agree that. And Beloche Nemar. And that's why it says, V'chasidecha yivarchucha. That the level of a chosid, although this is such a high level, l'maylo mishtal shalus, it's a level of yeducha, but yet a chosid, chasidecha, can still bring down that level as well, yivarchucha. Ki ha'amshocha mimokim zeh b'oifen de bracha. Because to draw down from such a place of higher than ishtalshlus, which is a level of only hoidah over there, and to bring down in a way of bracha, a chosid can bring down in a way of bracha from there too. Normally, you can't level of higher than ishtalshlus. You need the level of tefillah, but not the level of yivarchucha. But here yivarchucha. The Rebbe will explain. So the Mamer wants to explain the great advantage of this hamshocha that we say chasidecha yivarchucha. And the Mamer also wants to explain why, first of all, what's so great about the Maila of this hamshocha, and why do we need chasidecha dafke to bring it down? V'hatam al zeh shehamshocha zu hi bekoyach chasidecha dafke. What's the reason that this bringing down can only come with the power of chasidecha? So the Maimер introduces Magdim b'hamaimer hachiluk ben bracha l'tfilah. So the Maimер introduces first the difference between blessing and prayer. So b'kol echad mehem yesh maila legabe zulose. Each one has an advantage over the other. There's a maila in blessing, and there's a maila in prayer. So first, hamaila de bracha legabe tefilahi. What's the advantage of blessing, which is more than prayer? The tefillah he milmato lemaila. The prayer is from below to above. We're asking, we are below, and we're asking Hashem to give him from above to below. So prayer comes from below. Hainu. Tefillah milmata l'mayla. Hainu. Sham ispalel hu l'mata. The one who's davening is below. Umevaki sheyashpiu lo milmaylo. And he's asking that they should give him from above. He's praying to Hashem. But ubracha hi milmaylo l'mata. Bracha is from above to below, which means the one who is benching is on top and pushes the bracha down. You're not asking from below to above, but the mevarech is giving milmaylo lamata. Shamevarech, the one who blesses, zesh lo koyach levarech. Anybody can bless, but a person that has the power to bless, Hulamailo mehashoidesh, he is higher than the root shemimenu nimsheches habracha, from where the bracha comes. He is higher, and he can command and can force the bracha to come down. Umamshich oisa milmailo lamato, and he brings it down from above to below. So the mevarach is on top, higher than the bracha, where the bracha comes from. Tefillah, the person is low. That's why bracha comes in a way of a command. You command that this should happen versus beseeching, versus tefillah. The kivon sham mevarich ulemaylo mehashoyre shemimenu nimsheches habracha. Since the one who is blessing is higher than the root from where the bracha comes, therefore it's within his power to command. So he commands the bracha, the level which is lower from him, to be nimshach. So the maila of bracha is that bracha is milmailo lamata, command, and it's from a higher place, and it can push it down, is mitzvah. That's what a bracha is. What's the maila of tefillah, on the other hand? Maila de tefillah legabe bracha. What is the advantage of prayer relative to bracha? The Inyan habracha hu lahamshich ma shekvar nimtza bahamoked v'lei davar chodesh. The idea of a bracha is you're drawing down and you're pushing down from the root something which is already there. This is not something new, which means it is in its source. There is the blessing is over there. You got a mevarech, you command that the blessing should come down, but you're not making up something new. But the Inyan tefillah, but the idea, the concept of prayer, that's a request from Hashem. Even if there doesn't exist, God forbid, the flow in this source, a person has to change his decree. Decree lamata, his source says that this has to happen to him. You pray for them, you're going to change around what is. You're not giving them what's in their source, because in the source, faket, in their source has been decreed for them something negative, and you're changing that. The Inyan tefillah hu bakosha shebagam. Not only does it not exist when we're davening for somebody, it's not only that it doesn't exist in the source. It has been decreed upon this person that he needs to be sick, God forbid. So that's a decree, or something else. So what are we praying? We want that it should be to him a new flow. From the Ein Sof, which is higher than Hishtalshlus, to bring him a new, additional, a different, not to bring him from his source, but to bring in a new hashpah. From the Ein Sof higher than Hishtalshlus, so that it should change around. So instead of having the decree affect him, is going to come a new hamshacha, a new hashpah, in which he's going to be able to be healthy. That's why we say in many prayers, we say, may it be the will. What does it mean, may it be the will? We want it to be a will. There should be a new will over here, because we're changing the will of Hashem the way it is before. We're saying, let it be a ratzon. The pirush yihi ratzon hu. What do you mean, let there be a will? Not to bringing down from the source, but we're saying who sheyiyah ratzon chodesh. There should be a new ratzon. V'zehu goydel ilui habracha b'chasidecha. So now we'll understand the great advantage when the chasidecha give a bracha. The chasidecha give a bracha has the benefit or the advantage of both. It's a bracha, but it's from the level which is higher than Ishtalshlus. Sham shachosa hi mehamokim shabohi hahaydor. That bracha of chasidecha comes from the place is where there is haidah, which you can only admit, which is higher than the shtalshlus. The bebracha zu shtei hamaylos. In this bracha that chasidecha give you, chasidecha yivarchucha, it has both advantages. Eisha habrach shochei me'erin sof shelamayla mishtalshlus. It comes from higher than ishtalshlus. It's the place yeducha, masecha yeducha, which is a level of edo, which is higher than ishtalshlus, which is the level of tefillah. So the place that it comes from is the place where there is edo, which is Eirin sof shelamayla mishtalshlus. Which means which means because it's higher than Ishtalshalus. So Ishtalshalus is where the order of things go in an evolved way, decided way. And here we're bringing in higher than Ishtalshalus. So there's a Rotzun Chodesh, which is Hamayla de Tefillah. It has the advantage of prayer because the prayer changes, goes to a higher level, higher than where the decree was, in a way of higher than Ishtalshalus. But Alpha became, and still, even though you're going higher than Ishtalshlus, he liked tefillah. It's not prayer here, it's back, which would be a bakasha request. Elo, bracha b'derech tzivui. It's a bracha b'derech tzivui, in a way of command. So you're commanding in a level which is higher than Ishtalshlus. Normally, commanding is in the source, it's within Ishtalshlus. And when it comes to higher than Ishtalshlus, so there is tefillah to change it around. Here, we're doing from the level of Heidoah, higher than Ishtalshlus, and it's Chasidecha, Ayivarchucha can push it down, a command, not in a way of prayer, but in a way of tzivui, to bring it down. Could easily be Yerushalmi, like we find seeing Yerushalmi, that the power of Chasidecha, of a tzaddik, is to actually decree. It's in a way of a tzivui. It's not a prayer, but a tzaddik is a tzivui to change it around. You decreed and you said, and Hashem sustained it for you. What the tzaddik is geyser, says the Gemara, Afilu hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Yerushalmi says, Afilu hu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, even if he, which is Hashem, says so. V'at Omar Hoch, and you say so. In other words, you disagree. The Eibishter made one way, you say fakir, different. The doch kaima, the delay kaima. Yours will be sustained, mine won't be sustained. Which means the prayer of a tzaddik states, Zeh shegam la'acharei nigzar, shaloi tiyeh hashpah. Even the fact that after it's been decreed that there's not going to be hashpah. That means in Ishtalshlus, the decree is from the Eibishter is hochin. Who imer hochin? The Eibishter said this person is sick. He's supposed to be sick. Nimshachas hashpah. Yet the hashpah is nimshach. The person gets the tzaddik. But tigzor omer, his decree stands. How does it come? Because the tzaddik, how does the tzaddik change? He brings down the rotzon chodesh, but he does it b'derech gezeira, not b'derech tefillah. Hamayla de tefillah, he brings down a new rotzon because the Eibishter said already hochin the other way. So that's the mile of tefillah, makes a new hashpah, but it comes in a way of gezeira. The oifen hamshacha. It's not through a request, like by tefillah, elo shal yidei at omer hochin. You say so, the tzaddik contradicts what the Eibishter said. The flow comes automatically, which means not in a way of requesting, but it just comes down because the tzaddik is geyser, the new hamshocha. Valderech, and it's not like a prayer, it just comes from the tzaddik, Valderech the Yisum Zoyar. Similar to what we find in the Zoyar, Sherav Shimon Bar Yochai, Himshich Yeridas Gishomim Al Yidamiras Torah. The Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he brought down the rain. He started saying the posik in Yematim Manoim Torah on the posik in Yematim Manoim Shevesachim Gam Yochad. So the rain started to come down. Now, the reason there was no rain, because B'derech Ishtalshalus was a decree, there was no rain. So normally you would have to ask for rain, so that would be a bakosha. But by Rashbi, who was B'chasidecha Yerochucha, he didn't ask for rain. The rain came down automatically from the Torah. That's the level of the tzaddik, Dagam. Dagam in order for the rain to come down after it's been decreed that there should be no rain, that is through bringing down a new rots. It's not that he had to pray for it, it's not that he has to ask, but it comes down. When he says Torah or Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, it comes on by itself. So this is the pshat now of Chasidecha Yivorchucha, that the Chasidim, like Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, they can bring down B'derech Barocha even from the level of the Ratzon Chodesh, even from higher than Ishtalshus. And it says Davke Chasidecha Davke, because it takes the higher level of a chosid to bring down Yivarchucha from the level of Yiducha, from the level of higher than Ishtalshus. Kamshocha be'ofen de bracha Yivarchucha mimakoim sheba Yehu ha'hida Yiducha, because in order for the Hamshocha in the way of bracha to come down from the place which there is normally Hida, higher than Ishtal Yiducha, who can do that? That's with the power of Chasidecha, as the Rebbe will explain Sibo. So basically, what the Rebbe explained over here, that the the Pasuk is trying to tell us over here that the Chasidim can bring down Yivarchucha from the place which is Yoducha, which would be higher than Ishtalshlus, and normally there's tefillah over there, but here there's the level of bracha because they're Chasidecha. But the Rebbe wants to know why Chasidecha. We know that Chasidecha, why is it that Dafke Chasidecha? What about the Badrega about Tzaddik? Because the level of Chasidecha seems to be the highest level in righteousness, that it's even higher than Tzaddik, Yosher. Chosid is the highest level. So why does it take to have the bracha Dafke al Chosid? Hey, Tzorich Lo, we need to understand the Chosid hu l'maylo mitzadik. Chosid is on a higher level than Tzaddik. Mamer, as the Mamer over there explains, Inyan Gimel HaMadreges, in the idea of the three steps, Tzaddik, Yosher, V'chosid. So over there it says the Yosher Ulamayla Mitzadik. Yosher is also higher than a Tzaddik. And then we said Chosid Ulamayla Gama Yosher. So it means that Tzaddik, then a higher level is Yosher, and then it comes Chosid. But here we're saying that who can Yivarchucha, it's a Chosid. From the fact that Pasuk says Yiducha Gomer V'Chasidecha Yivarchucha, mashma, it appears Shebichdei Lahamshik Ba'ifin the Bracha, in order to bring down in a way of Bracha, not through tefillah that we have to beg, but it comes automatically on its own. B'derech Memela B'liba Kosher, automatically without request. From the place in where there is Haidah higher than Ishtalshlus, Oirin Sof, Shalomaylam Ishtalshlus. It's only the Chasidecha can do that. which are even a higher level than tzaddikim. As we said, the tzaddik, and then he comes Yosher, and this is chosid, so the tzaddik can't accomplish that, only the chosid. Why is that? Tzaddik Lehavin. Even if we're just talking regular tzaddikim, Omer Razal, I say, just tell us HaKadosh Baruch Hu Geizer v'tzaddik mevatel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer Hochin and Hochin, the Eibush is mevatel. Boif bitla Gezeira. And the way the Gezeira is bottled is lo yali de bakosha tzaddik. It's not that the tzaddik has to request it. A bakosha like a tefillah, elai de atzimushaloi. It's through his command. When the tzaddik decrees that the gezerah should be nullified, it is nullified by itself. Even a tzaddik has the power, not only a chosid. The pasuk says tzaddik Moshe b'yiras elikim. That the tzaddik dominates the fear of God that the tzaddik possesses. He dominates. Upirshu Razal, so Razal, sages explain it, that tzaddik Moshe b'Kodesh Baruch Hu levatlos gzereso. That the tzaddik dominates by Hashem to negate Hashem's decrees. That means that tzaddik is in charge. So we see that a tzaddik is mavatul. Tzaddik has a little. Why are we saying a chasidach adavkir? The mizembu and l'chayira. From this we can understand. It would seem shegam bam shocha shal yidei tzaddikim yesh nom shtei hamaylos anal. That also when we talk through tzaddikim, when they draw down, you get both milas higher than ishtalshlus, and in a way of memela tzaddik geyser, and not in a way of tefillah. Sham shochim emokim shem shayich boya hasoger, that you bring down from a place in which you can grasp Elohidah, which is of shel mila mishtalshlus. So you have that on one hand, that mila that you're getting from the higher level, from the Eidus of shel mila mishtalshlus, which is only the level of yiducha. And also v'shaham shacham mishom hiloy alidei. And the way you get it from there, it's not in the way of a request, but derech tzivui, a command, which is hamayla de bracha. So even a tzaddik has this advantage of bringing down from higher than ishtalshlus in the way of a command, goizer, and derech mamela, and not through a tefillah. So why does the pasuk say here v'chasidecha yivarchucha? It's only a chasid. V'masha kosi yeducha gem v'chasidecha yivarchucha. Mashma from the pasuk over here is mashma she'amshocha ba'ofen de brocha ma'amokim shebo yido. That this amshocha in a way of brocha from the place which is ido, from higher than ishtalshlus, ibikoya chasidecha davke. It's only chasidecha. So the Rebbe argues that seemingly that also a tzaddik can accomplish that. So why does the pasuk says v'chasidach yivarchucha? The Rebbe explains that the advantage of yivarchucha is that you bring down. Normally, a bracha brings from the shoyrish is in ishtalshlus. A tefillah goes higher than ishtalshlus. The idea of chasidach yivarchucha is to bring down from higher ishtalshlus in a way of derech tzivui tzaddik geyser, and not in a way of bakosha. But the Rebbe asks, why is it chasidach dafke? It seems like a tzaddik should also be sufficient. And the Rebbe will continue to explain now the advantage and why the special level of chasidach. V'yesh levayir zeh api ma shemamshich b'hamaymer. We can explain this based on what he continues in the Mamer, the Isu b'Zoyar. It says in the Zoyar, Ezehu chosid hamischasid im koine. Who is considered to be a chosid? One who does chesed, kindness with his, with Hashem. One who owns us. Hainu. So what does it mean you do chesed with Hashem? That A chassid doesn't do it for himself, for his own reasons, but he does it for Hashem. When he serves Hashem, it's not for what he gains out of it, but it's because he wants to bring Hashem into the world and to connect Hashem through his Torah mitzvahs. Hainu, the Inyan shel chosid, what is the idea of a chosid? Shavidosi lebishul atzmoi. It's not for himself. Bichdei sheyiyeh davuk b'elakus. So that he should be connected to godliness, so he serves Hashem. That's for himself to make his connection. But it's for Hashem. As explained in time. So the Mamer explains the hamshoche shal yidei ha'avodah de chasidim ki mipnimiyus atik. We'll discuss now. Atik is pnimiyus hakeser, but in Atik there's also pnimiyus Atik. We have pnimiyus Atik, we have chitzonius Atik, and then we have chitzonius hakeser, which is arich. And the three levels of tzaddik, yosher, and chosid takes from the level of pnimiyus Atik. Yosher takes from the level of chitzonius Atik, and tzaddik takes from arich. Let's look inside. The hamshocha shayidei avodas hatzadikim. The hamshocha the avodas chassidim mepnimiyus Atik. V'zehu shechosid hu l'maylo mitzadik hu l'maylo gam miyosher. That's why a chosid is higher than a tzaddik and higher from a yosher. The hamshocha shal yidei avodas hatzadikim hi mechitzonius hakeser. The hamshocha, the avodas of tzaddikim, is from the external of keser, which is arich. The hamshocha shal yidei avodah de yishorim, what we bring down to avodah of yishorim, shalamaylo mit tzaddikim. So tzaddikim only bring down chitzonius hakeser arich. But the level of Yosha, which is higher than Tzadikim, imipnimiyas hakeser, that's the pnimius of keser, that's Atik. Atik, b'hamshocha sha'idei avodah de chasidim, and the hamshocha which comes through the avodah chasidim shalamaylam yishorim, which is higher than Yishorim, imipnimiyas Atik is from the inner of Atik. Da'al yidei shehavodah shalahem ibibitl. Since the avodah of a chosid, mischasid koine, is not for themselves, it's only for the Eibishter, for Hashem, koine. So that means that the avodah is bebitl, l'maylo mimitzi is higher than their entity. L'chein hamshocha shenimshechas al yidei avidosam. That's why the hamshocha, which comes down through the service in mebchinas etzem, is from the level of etzem shelemaylo mihispashtus mitzias, which is essence, which is beyond expansion, expansion is mitzias, and that's why it's pnimiyus Atik. The inner of Atik is the etzem, and there is no, because if it's already chitzonius Atik, even though it's pnimiyus hakesa, but it's already hispashtus is amitzias. And therefore, pnimiyus Atik comes after through a chosid who is higher than avodah. It's chasidim koine, not mitzias. V'zehu shomer Razal. This also, what our sages tell us, that tzedakah hilaniyim. When you give tzedakah, you give to people that are poor. And when you give gemilus chasodim, you loan, you give an act of kindness, you do is bein laniyim, bein lashirim. That goes for poor people, but rich people sometimes need a loan as well. Which really, essentially, means in the inner meaning of things, that who benefits from acts of kindness Even people who are wealthy. So that means that chesed is a higher level of tzedakah. And it means that chesed is higher than even ashirim, because you give ashirim, they can use gemilas chesed. You have ashirim, and yet you give them chesed. So that means that chasodim chesed is even a higher level than ashirim. The fact that gemilas chasodim is also for the wealthy, move on. Shechesed hu l'maylo gam me'ashirus, that chesed is higher than ashirus. So we have three levels. You have tzedakah, which is for poor people. They need tzedakah. You have the level people that are not an oni, they're ashirim. And then you have chesed, which you give even to the ashirim. These are the three levels that your mamshich to malchus explains. These three aspects of charity and wealth and gemilut chesed are all and gimel madreges behamshachas the lamaylos and nimshochim b'malchus, three levels in hamshachas of above that come in malchus. Malchus has a need of an oni, a need of an ashir, and a need of chesed. Tzedakah shehimilu achison. Tzedakah is malchus to fill what it's lacking. Dai machsoire. What is you have to give charity whatever he's missing. That means you have to give him what he's lacking, but you don't have to make a person wealthy. That's tzedakah. Tzedakah, the obligation of tzedakah is to give him what he misses, what he needs, but not to make him wealthy. And that's why Amshachas Hagilu Sheshayich L'Malchus. That's the bringing down the revelation which belongs, which is connected to Malchus. That way, what it's lacking is filled. The Begilu Zen Nichlal. So in this revelation to Malchus, it is included Gam Bechinas Chitzonis HaKeser Arich. Arich is part what Malchus is missing. Why is Arich, even though Arich is Keser? Still we're saying Malchus needs Arich. Why? The Kivon She'arich Hu Shoyresh U'Mokir HaNetzolim. Since Arich is the root and the source of Netzolim, Elo Shu Makif Aleim Soivev. He's the root, but he doesn't come in a premise. He surrounds them, he circles them. So that's considered, we include that Arich Keser as the light which is connected to the world. That's tzedakah, that fills from Arich to Malchus in the level of tzedakah. Yesh Leimar. And the Rebbe says we can also add to it, as we said before, tzaddikim bring down from the level of chitzonius hakeser from Arich. That, and it's, what is the association with the word tzedakah here, charity? The shem tzaddik is moloshan tzedakah hu. The name tzaddik is because of the charity. Kayidei avodas hatzaddikim hu hamshachas chitzonis hakeser kenal, because the avodas hatzaddikim, we said before, brings down from the level of Arich, which is the chitzonis hakeser kenal. And that's why he's called tzaddik, because tzaddik does tzedakah, gives from Arich to Malchus. That's included. That means to fulfill what Malchus is lacking, which is tzedakah. Tzedakah v'yatu metzuva la'ashrei, no rich, but to give what he's lacking. But then you have the wealth which is higher than filling what is lacking. Hu hamshochas gilui oir. That is bringing down a revelation of oir shalamaylo v'shaychus l'malchus. To give it an oir, a light which is higher than being connected to malchus. Shenimshech b'malchus. That you extend it to malchus. You give malchus something more than what it is just the minimal what it needs. You get to a level of wealth. That's called the Panemius Hakeser. Atik, that's considered the level of Atik, which is brought down by the Yosha. Chesed, Shulamaylu Gam Mashirus, but Chesed, which is even more than wealth, because, as we said before, Gemilus Chasodim La'ashiris, which means you have to give, the Ashir needs a Gemilus Chesed, so which is high Nashirus, who Amshochas Pnimi Atik. That's the Amshochas Pnimi Atik, Shenimshach B'Malchus. And so that brings down the Malchus. So you bring down the Malchus, the level of Tzedakah, that's Arich. You bring down the Malchus, Atik, Tzenius Atik. That's the level of Yashar. Then you bring down, Rebbe doesn't discuss the Yashar, but that's understood from before. And you bring down the level of, through Chosid, you bring down Pnimius HaKesed, Pnimius Atik. Zehu Ezehu Chosid Namis Chasid Koine. This is what we say, Zehu Chosid Namis Chasid Koine, the Mehataimim Al Zeh, that one of the reasons why we call Machosim, the Mataimas, the Vishav Edosi, Lilu Tzerech Atzme, Lilu Tzerech Gavoya, ones whose service is not for himself but for Hashem, Nikra B'Shem Chosid, Meloshen Chesed. We call them a Chosid, coming from Chesed, Ki Al Yidei, Shehavoida Shaloi Hi Betachlis HaBitl. Because since the avoida of the chosid is total bittul, mischasid in koinoi, lemailum mitzias, a higher than entity, hamshocha shal yavdei avodah. So what does he bring down through his avoida? His avoida with complete bittul. He mipnimius atik. He brings down the inner of atik kinal, which is, as we said, the idea of chesed, the chesed that comes la'ashirim. So that's the higher level, the level of chesed. That's why it's called chosid. The chosid because it gives chesed, and the chesed is higher. That goes even higher than even to ashirim, and that is because he brings down from the level of pnimius atik. Because how does he get to Primus Atik? Because he's the level of Bittul B'Mitzias, because he's a Chosid, Mischasid, and Koine. That's why he comes down to the level of Chesed. So now the Rebbe will say, so since we are saying that Chasidecha are Mamshech Primus Atik, so the Rebbe will explain now that when it says Yeducha Kol Maasecha, the real level of Yeducha is a Pnimius Atik, and that's why it's only Chasidecha, and not Tzadik and not Yoshor, because the Bittul, the Mitzias, where there is only Haidah, it's in Pnimius Atik, and not in Atik in regular, or not, certainly not Narich. V'yashloimar, we can say the Mashekos Yeducha Goimer L'Chasidecha Mechucha. So we explained Shamaila the Hamshocha Brocha Shalidei Chasidecha. What is the advantage when we say Hamshocha the Brocha through Chasidecha? Hu Shahamshocha Hi Memokim She'en Boi Hasoga Elohido B'Van. The Hamshocha comes from a place where there's no understanding, only admission. Admit to the Eberste. Kamitas Inyan Ha'Haidah U'Bepnimius Atik. The true level, where is there Haidah, that there is no Hasoga, that's in Pnimius Atik. Hamshocha Mishom So how do you take from there in a way of bracha, command, is only the chasidecha. The chasidecha go to Pnimius Atik. And that's why Yivarchucha chasidecha, because Yeducha kol ma'asecha, Yeducha is in Pnimius Atik. Gam yesh leimer, also we can say, she'iker achidush b'Yeducha goy me'Yivarchucha hu, the main thing, another explanation, the main thing of Yeducha, Yivarchucha, that it's something that it comes b'derech hamela. I was going to explain. Yes, they can be mamshich, but this special hamshocha of chasidecha is only chasidecha. It explains. The main novelty, Inyan to bring down from the place where there is Haidah, and he boy from the brachi that it should come down in a way of Yerchucha, in a command by itself, Hainu, Sham Shochi B'derech Mamela, which means that it comes down automatically. It's not through Abakosha, it's B'derech Mamela, Bam Shocha, boy from Zeh, he be'iker al Yidei Chasidecha Darke. That comes down in automatically through Chasidecha. Hainu. So what we're really saying over here is this. It's not so much the source where it comes from. Everybody gets from that source. But it's how it comes from the source. Hainu. The fact that you're drawing down from the place where there is Haidah, that's Gugam B'Tzadikim V'Yishorim. That's also B'Tzadikim V'Yishorim. The Kippur Shegam Arich, since also Arich, where the Tzadikim get, on the Kolshkin Chitzonius Atik, Hem L'Maylo Mishtalshul, the Haner Shtalshus, Ein Shaykh B'Masoga Eloido Bilvad. We can't have grasp there, it's only admission over there, and therefore that's included in Kol Masecha Yeducha, the level of Yeducha. Elo Sham Shocha Ma'arich Mechzenis Atik Shalidei Tzadikim V'Yishorim. However, the Hamshocha that comes from Arich and Chitzenis Atik through the Tzadikim V'Yishorim, he k'moi b'derech pe'ula. That's in a way of an act. V'amitis or Inyan b'derech memela, but the true idea of automatically coming hu b'hamshocha b'pnimius atik shalidei chasidecha. That's when we're talking about when we take the pnimius atik through chasidecha it'll come on. So it's not so much that the Yeducha is not by Tzadikim and Yishorim, but it's not the Memela, because the Chiddush is here that it comes Memela. That is only by the level of Hasidim, and that's why Chasidecha Yivarchucha. But really, the other aspect of it, that it's a higher, that it's a place of Yeducha, and that's where the Hamshocha is, that would be also the level of Tzadikim and Yishorim. And the reason we say Chasidecha Yivarchucha, because it comes with Derech HaMelech, as the Rebbe will explain.